Hey everybody, it's been a hot minute because I have been stupidly busy moving, but it is Sunday, May 2nd, match day 34 away to Newcastle. This is the Richmond Gooners podcast. We're a little short-staffed today. I am Ryan here with just Joey.
Yep, I love it when they call me Big Papa.
I didn't mean to say just Joey like it's a bad thing, but it's just me and Joey today.
Just Joey.
Yeah, so we got...
Bitch, you should be lucky to have me here,
that is fair.
Yep.
That is fair. I count myself blessed on this day, the Lord's Day. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot has happened since last we've spoken.
Ooh, yes it has. A whole lot. On the pitch, off the pitch.
Yeah, on the pitch today up in Manchester, which is one of the things to talk about.
Yeah,
that, the way that the coverage just got
like
really
that.
weird,
Yeah.
and that was just something I'd never seen. But,
yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, because this is nominally a post-game show, let's just kind of talk a little bit about today, I think.
Yeah.
We started off in 11th, lowest we've been in a hot minute.
Yep.
But again, as we say every week, it generally doesn't matter. It is ironic that, as you pointed out, I think a week or so ago, like multiple teams have tried to leave the door open for us to advance, and we just be like, no,
we
I don't
refuse.
want what's on the other side of that door. I'm good right here.
We don't want a European spot.
We don't want a European spot. We don't want St. Totteringham's Day. We're just going to hang out here mid-table as if our front shirt sponsor should be a gambling company.
Don't mind me. I'm just doing my thing.
Just doing our thing. But, it is what it is, and, the league's been lost for a couple of months, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear, and I've mentioned this, I think, in a couple of other podcasts, but it's clear that all our eggs are in the Europa League basket right now. Not quite. It may not have been clear if you saw the manager's tactics in leg one that was in Spain against Villareal.
That was something.
But yeah, that's for a little bit later in the podcast. So as far as the game today, we won 2-0. Goals by Mohamed El Worldy and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We get that. I was actually quite happy to see that world famous smile after he scored today, because I feel like those smiles are few and far in between. And
you get malaria, you're not going to be having a grand time for a while.
Exactly.
It's good to see him kind of back in winning form,
up and healthy and happy and smiling that big old smile. So, I thought we played well. Obviously, Fabian Schär got sent off for Newcastle for a god awful tackle on Martinelli, and it was definitely puckered butthole time.
Yeah. Every time Martinelli goes down, you just your brain goes there now.
Yeah. Because Jesus, man, this kid. Can you just not try to destroy this kid?
For one damn minute.
Oh man, it was. If you've seen it, you understand that it was a god awful tackle.
Yeah. I mean, you could make an argument in a game that was in contention. That it's possible they could call that if it's a dude's first foul, you call it a yellow. But, especially, I would say it's a straight red at any time, but especially in garbage time, Mike Dean has no choice to be like, what the hell are you doing?
What are you doing? At minimum, any time in the game, that's like a yellow plus.
Yeah, it's a yellow with, if you touch somebody or breathe on somebody, you are being sent off next time. Yeah, exactly. And that was that, and at that point, it was like 90 plus 2 or whatever it was. It was over at that point, or maybe it was like 90-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, mentioning El Neni, it was funny. I was looking at the lineup on the way over here, and I went, well, you start Ceballos and El Neni in the midfield.
You were shitting on him, weren't you? You were shitting on him.
I was like, is there a clearer white flag to be waved, whatever. Can you care less about advancing the ball from midfield than putting those two dudes in there, especially after the turd Ceballos late on Thursday, and then El Neni comes out, so early.
Listen, am I in the minority here thinking that El Neni has had actually a really good season?
He's had a really good season. But
I actually want him to get re-signed.
I'd take him over Ceballos at this point, which sounds like that's a guarantee that he's not coming back.
Yeah, but we have one defensive midfielder, one natural defensive midfielder at the club, and his name is Mohamed El Neni.
Yeah. Well, and
we have to have somebody in that position, right?
I'm not shitting on him necessarily, but that pairing does not inspire confidence because the two of them together are not doing a whole hell of a lot going forward.
No, they're not.
But as it turns out, it was honestly the 5th minute El Neni gets his moment.
And we've seen him. We know he can hit him from there.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it a few times before.
I mean, it was one of those things, I think he was lucky to hit it as well as he did, because he looked like he was flailing around a little bit at it. But once he made good contact...
that's the technique, in my opinion. I think that he had to really measure that. And I thought it was really good technique. It looks awkward, but it was the proper technique to hit that shot.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, oh, God, what's it? But then, it goes right on through. But yeah, I mean, Ceballos was just kind of there today. He didn't, do anything glaringly awful, which is an improvement.
Yeah. And I think it was Zeb who was visiting us from the Queen City Gooners. Shout out to Michael Petco and co down there. But Zeb turned to me and was like, I've never seen anybody like put so much energy into running extremely slowly.
Oh, I think he said make running so slowly look so difficult.
Looks so difficult, yeah. And because Ceballos, he looks like he's chugging, and he's going about 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
he's
we've
got
always
some
said.
positive qualities, but pace is not one of them. Man.
And his positive qualities have been largely dormant since Project Restart.
Exactly.
And whatever happened.
He was a beast, like right at the beginning of Project Restart, and then something happened. I thought Arteta was like unlocking him and getting the best out of him. He's turning into like a real 8. The defensive side of his game was like had vastly improved. But lately his game has been drier than Ben Shapiro's wife's nether regions. So
it's a pretty. He's not coming back most likely next year, and that'll be fine.
And I'm so sad.
Yeah. Well, when he went, there was the tackle on him early, or not? It wasn't early. I forget what the time was, because again, as we'll mention later, the broadcast was hijacked by the riots at Old Trafford. The shenanigans at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
But there was a very questionable tackle, and one of our dudes rolling around. It's like, oh crap! Then you see it Ceballos, and you're like, okay. I mean, I don't wish harm on the guy, but it's like, what? Honestly, it's not going to cost us much if he's hurt. I don't wish harm on him.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, at least that wasn't Martinelli. Other just kind of points for the game to me. I thought Matt Ryan looked really good.
Matt Ryan looked really, really good.
There was like a couple like dangerous like low crosses that were kind of skittering along the ground that could have been easily missed. There was a really high one that he got way up to get. He wasn't necessarily challenged a lot today, but I think he did a lot to calm the play in the box.
Sure. I thought it looked good, but like I'm just preparing myself to go on Twitter and seeing the incoming the Sean Bean meme. Brace yourselves. We should buy Matt Ryan on a permanent, and he should be the number one over Leno crowd is coming, and that is just. Beyond dumb.
I am in no way advocating for Matt Ryan, future Arsenal number 1 goalkeeper, but it is
Matt
Ryan,
he looked excellent today, I thought.
Future serviceable Arsenal backup.
Absolutely.
Keeper.
I would rather him than a backup like Ospina, say, or Runerson.
Runerson is still in no way ready to be a guy, I assume, given what went on with him earlier in the year. But no, Ryan looks like he's capable. He looks like he's ready, and depending on how many cup competitions we find ourselves in next year, he could be a good cup keeper.
I agree.
So that was one bright spot.
I'd love to have him as a backup keeper.
One dark spot. You've got Luiz's hammy is now in jeopardy.
Yeah, doggone it. That's dang.
I forget who it was on the Slack, but mentioned that I think it might have been Jim saying that the rash of injuries this year, you wonder if it's just a disruption to everyone's routines.
Yeah. I think that might have something to do with it, and I think that's a good point.
Because part of me says these are professional athletes; they're going to training every day. Like, how much is your routine really disrupted? But these are also human beings; they have lives, and you're stressed out over other stuff. That certainly could, trickle into your fitness. And it's a speculation, but I'd give it some credence. And obviously we haven't had the issues that Liverpool have had this year with injuries.
Yeah, we've still been maybe hit the unluckiest team in the league as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, but we've still been hit hard enough. When one of your dudes catches malaria, how much more bad luck?
Yeah, true.
Are you going to have health wise in one season?
I was going to say, the Aubameyang family has not had a good to go of it as of lately.
That's true.
His mom was like deathly ill, and then he catches malaria.
Yeah,
it was just. I'm glad to see that their whole family has come out on the side of that, because the Aubameyangs are supremely likable people.
Oh yeah, you can just tell by just how joyful he lives his life.
Exactly.
It's not going to be a bunch of just.
He has a good time all the time.
Yeah.
It seems like So, and I think that's kind of it. And the funny thing is, I talk about this with Tom all the time, because both of us, Tom is German, and so he grew up supporting Borussia Dortmund, but that Borussia Dortmund is my German club of choice as well. And we talk about all the time how the media reports said he was a cancer there and this and that, and I just don't really see any of that at Arsenal. Of the younger players really look up to him. He's taken several younger players kind of under his wing. Guys like Guendouzi, when Guendouzi was here. It seems like our youngsters like Saka and them and Martinelli, they have a good relationship with him. Look at the reaction between him and Martinelli, because Martinelli supplied the assist for his goal today. Just look at the reaction from them. It seems like he genuinely tries to look after our youngsters and stuff.
I wonder what was going on at Dortmund. Was he just not getting playing time, or
I don't know,
just not
man.
want to live in Germany?
I think people, sometimes people at the club want to save face, so they say, "Oh, the player is the problem."
Could be he didn't fit in their system and they weren't willing to adjust. And
Exactly, because he's always been an elite level striker in world football.
Yeah,
and my word, there's still. I'm sorry to interrupt. They're still showing it's popping off. It's popping off here.
That's honestly, like, we've pretty much said all we need to say about the game.
Yeah.
Mike Dean was forced to give a red in Arsenal's favor. I'm sure he's going to go home and
cry
and masturbate with his own tears tonight.
Yeah,
but that was awfully blue for this podcast. All right. Anyway, he's going to have a rough night. But, yeah, now's a good time as any. We got cops on horses in Manchester.
Yeah, Man United versus Liverpool has, of course, been delayed.
Yes.
It seemed somewhat mild-mannered earlier, but it's popping off now. Yeah. There are stewards outside in the street.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They got a line going. They've established a line finally.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. I forget it was in the 20-something, the 15th, 20th minute or whatever. All of a sudden we go to a split screen. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Because before the game, they had showed the crowd gathering outside Old Trafford.
Yes.
And you go, all right, well,
yes.
you know what? They're having a moment. They're going to voice their opinion. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it just cuts to this shot of people just running all over the pitch.
Yeah.
And the guy who I'm going to call Shoe Guy is just wild, just going crazy. He's grabbing a fucking tripod and chucking it onto the field. And the thing is, I was just waiting for that dude's pants to fall off. Like, every time they showed him, he was like this close to going full plumber's butt.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just never happened. And I feel like that's the fame that he truly deserves for the bullshit that he pulled today.
Yeah.
There was like the 10-year-old kid who was just having the best moment of his life, crawling on top of the goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's one of those things like, man, I hope y'all's lifetime ban is worth it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that there's this guy that was carrying around the corner flag from Old Trafford. It was like, you'll probably get out of there with that flag, and I hope that lifetime ban was worth that flag. So half of me feels like, yeah, especially all the folks that they caught on camera are gonna get lifetime bans. But also another half of me feels like Man United's ownership might understand the sort of precarious position that they're in right now, and so maybe they don't do that. Maybe they
give them a second shot so they don't make everybody more mad at them.
Correct. Maybe they say, hey, we understand. The guy like broke a camera. It wasn't an expensive camera.
Just a tripod thing.
Just the tripod thing. So it's like, yeah, that thing costs a few bucks, but like, hey, listen, we understand, we hear you. Like we're not going to sell the club, but we hear you, and we're not going to punish you for or some sort of statement like that. Like, hey, we hear you. We're going to do our best to regain your trust after this. I almost foresee a kind of statement like that coming out.
That's possible
from Joel Glazer and company.
I mean, it's one of those. I mean, it's a tough middle ground for them. You have to find a way to be like, look, protest all you want outside the stadium.
Don't break in the stadium.
Don't break in the stadium
our shit.
and break our stuff because we're supposed to play a game today that we're trying to win. There's probably some they're going to have a hard time. I think that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that. They might try to use this as a way to like, hey, we're not going to prosecute if you just give us a minute to try to get our stuff together.
Exactly.
We'll just call this water under the bridge.
Yeah, and they are trying to win, and it's somewhat important. I mean, I think for me, their spot in second place is pretty much solidified because they're a game in hand on Man City, but they're currely 13 points behind.
Oh yeah, I mean Man City only needs 3 points out of the remaining games,
3
or
points.
for United to lose today.
And they're also a game in hand for Leicester. They had game in hand on Leicester, and they are currently 4 points up of Leicester. So they would very much like to be 7 points up of Leicester with 4 games to go, just to kind of solidify that second spot.
Well, because in a year like this, or in like the last few years, where the team that wins it is running away with it, finishing second, I don't want to say moral victory, but best of the rest.
Yeah, best of the rest.
Knowing that no one's going to top City, and no one has been in a position to top City for several months.
Yeah.
That's about as much of a victory as you can hope for. You don't want to throw that away.
Yeah. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I just don't think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a championship winning manager, is a league winning manager. And I think he maybe has actually overperformed with him finishing second this year. Because if I had to give it one game, them versus Leicester, I would pick Leicester in that game.
Yeah.
Or even maybe
one-off.
them versus Chelsea in a one-off. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd take us over them in a cup final. We just have their number.
We have their number, especially under Arteta.
Yeah.
We've kind of had their number.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. I don't think he's a title-winning manager, but I think he's actually done well to get this team finishing second with only like 4 losses on the season. So
yeah, well, like they've been
they've drawn 10 games, but
yeah, but they've been a mess for a while. I mean, really since Ferguson left.
Yeah.
Mourinho kind of got things to a point, but then just it fell apart as it always does with him.
Yep.
So the fact that he's, you appreciate my mute there. The fact that he's held it together, to such a degree that they can finish second is actually kind of impressive. And we talked about this in the last podcast that they've got some good players on their squad, but they don't have enough great players to overcome not having a great manager either. So they've done well for themselves, and it's you hate to see it, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that because their fans are every bit as upset as our fans are, and I haven't seen much out of the Liverpool people. There was a thing in Liverpool a couple weeks ago with the
outside the Shankly gates.
Yeah, and even Chelsea fans got in on it. I didn't see a whole lot of noises. City.
Yeah.
But
I didn't.
This isn't who can be more outraged contest. Noise. It's just interesting that that United is kind of where it's chosen to pop off.
Yeah.
And I guess it's all it is one of those things that has reached ahead, and they're enough. I guess that's interesting. So
we're getting into it now. So let's go ahead and talk about
let's talk about it.
The European Super League.
Speaking of the Glazers issued an apology, the Kroenkes issued an apology. I guess.
Well, Arsenal was the first club to actually say, "Hey, listen, we got it wrong.
Yeah,
we got it wrong, and we're sorry."
And I'm just curious.
We've heard you. We got it wrong. This is just we got it wrong, man.
The question is I'm interested in were the Glazers more kind of backhanded in their apology, or
I thought because
Kroenke did that digital forum thing with the fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if United had anything quite like that. And I don't know if that's the difference. It's just interesting to see how this is playing out differently at every club. But yeah, I don't want to do the world's deepest dive on this only because it's been done by everybody else, and the fact it relates to the game is entirely on me. But my life has been nuts lately. But yeah, it was one of the. I thought from the beginning, and especially not just because we're Arsenal people, when Wenger came out pretty early and was like, I do not think this is a thing that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed pretty obvious to me anyway that this was mostly smoke, and that it was about leverage in getting the Champions League reorganized the way that the teams wanted, which that's another discussion to have, that abomination that they've come up with.
Yeah. And so it's almost and I think you made a good point, because I think we were chatting maybe in our WhatsApp group or something, and you made a good point of that, hey, I don't know if they actually intended to go through with this thing. I think this was really just somewhat of a smokescreen to get UEFA to make the changes to the Champions League that they wanted to make. And if you look at what actually happened, that explanation
makes sense.
Could seem accurate.
Yeah.
That explanation clocks, because there have been wholesale changes made to the format of the Champions League, and the USL is no more. The ESL is no more. It died within 48 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't like the new Champions League format either, but it seems to be what the owners wanted. It gets more under the new format. I believe we'd be in next year.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think the ESL was a thing, because I think that especially the American owners within the Premier League are about as out of touch as we believe that they are.
Oh, sure.
And you and I are big time Arsenal supporters, and we have been for years. And I think we have an understanding that Stan Kroenke is the owner of Arsenal, and Kroenke Sports Entertainment. Stan and Josh are the owners of Arsenal, but they are not Arsenal supporters.
No,
not real ones anyway. They say, "Oh, we support Arsenal because you own the club," and that's what you're supposed to say.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean.
No,
Ryan Dorp would be a better owner of Arsenal. If you had their money, you would be a better owner of Arsenal, because you understand what it means.
When they came out, I don't know if it was the Kroenkes, but it was whoever came out and designated, made that saying legacy fans. Saying legacy fans are not, what the future is. The future is future fans, and in their mind, that's
16 to 24 year olds.
That's people who, and I don't even know if people that young have poor attention spans. You want to assume they do because we're old, and that's the thing old people say. But
you and I are far out of that range, so I'm like, does the club not give a shit about me?
Yeah, and it's they see all these kids in Southeast Asia and like Australia and like the countries where like Emirates has been pushing really big. Yeah. And like, you know, Arsenal is a global brand.
And the club has been pushing for a big presence within those areas.
Yeah. And like they see that and they say, well, you know, our games are on at these weird hours during the night, you know, 2:00 in the morning over there right now. And if we found this league where we control everything, well, that's for those of you not watching on News Channel 8, there's an interesting banner being carried around Manchester. Avi Glazer went to Epstein Island.
Yikes.
That's
if that is true.
It's probably not. That's also aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay,
if that is
it might
true,
be. It might be.
It might be.
It might be. You don't.
They
you
have
don't
a
want
picture
that to
of
be
Avi
true.
Glazer, and let me just say, he definitely looks like the type.
He looks like. Let me see the picture of him again.
Yeah, here you go.
He looks like I had one of those like Dan Le Batard. He looks like moments. He looks like Al Davis if he gained 50 pounds and shaved his head.
Yeah,
that's what he looks like. He's got those glasses.
He looks like a character in a Sacha Baron Cohen film.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so that's a hard yikes. But anyway, no, I think they're looking at the rest of the world that is, you know, time zone inefficient with the UK and saying, how do we reach these people to get more live games to them? And the solution is invent a league where we can play where we want, when we want.
Against the top teams in Europe.
And
never have to worry about getting kicked out of this league or getting relegated in any way.
So that's the thing. Like, I think the permanent membership is very bad optics. And obviously, like teams like us and Tottenham would benefit more greatly than any other English teams from it by just being there. But I think honestly, the ability to control the terms of the deal more directly in terms of when and where you play and who you play is an even bigger. That was the real money draw because, you know, like we were saying,
absolutely,
you play the bigger teams all the time, and you get to play them when you think your new fans that are better than your legacy fans will watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, the main thing that made me super upset about that is that, you know, within the six clubs within the EPL that wanted to go out and branch out to the ESL. 4 of those clubs, including us, have American ownership. Yeah. And to me, the most poisonous and insidious part of American sport, which I like, I have a fan of. I'm a Washington football team fan. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, Atlanta Braves fan. But the most poisonous and insidious part of American sport as a whole is that in American sport there is no real punishment for sucking.
Right.
Right. So there's no punishment. In fact, there's a reward.
There's a reward. You get the high draft.
You get a high draft pick.
And
right?
that's in the intent to balance the sport back out, is so you don't suck. But
it is. But also, it's like, okay, as I'm a Washington football team fan, and you know, if you think Arsenal fans are not Stan Kroenke fans, Washington football team fans are not Daniel Snyder fans. Right. Daniel Snyder is the chairman and the owner of Washington football team, and for me, Dan Snyder has no motivation to actually want the team to be better.
Right.
Because Dan Snyder is going to get his money no matter what. The Washington football team has one of the most loyal and passionate fan bases in all of the NFL, American football, pigskin, or hand egg, as somebody call it. So, you know, we're still going to buy merch every year. We're still going to show up to games every year. The season ticket holders are still gonna. It's tough to get season tickets for the Washington football team, and so he's gonna get his money no matter what. And so he has no financial motivation or no business motivation to actually want the team to get better. Right. He could just kind of stand pat, and he's still gonna get his money. So in my mind, I'm worried that for the rest of my life, my natural-born life, the Washington football team is going to suck unless we have 2 or 3 years straight of excellent draft picks. Right. And those draft picks perform well on their rookie contracts. Right. When you can, and we start making playoffs and doing a deep run. Kind of how, the Seahawks won a Super Bowl while Russell Wilson was still on his rookie contract. Right. The Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl while Patrick Mahomes was on his rookie contract. Right. Unless we have a situation like that where we get a generational talent player like a Russell Wilson, like a Patrick Mahomes, and those two are both generational talents. We're not going to get any better. Well, and that's to me, that is the beauty and probably part of the reason why I was drawn to football as a world sport, or soccer as we Americans would call it, and why I was drawn to Arsenal in the EPL, because there's something on the line kind of all the time.
Yeah.
And so that really resonated with me, and I feel like I have a deep understanding and a deep connection to the fact that that in order to advance in this sport, you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And so my biggest problem with the ESL was that there's no. Yes, do I want Arsenal to be playing on the highest stage against the Real Madrids and Barcelonas and Bayern Munichs and PSGs?
Yeah, of course.
And do I want Arsenal to sit at that table? Yes, but we have to earn it.
Right.
If we don't earn it, what the fuck is the point?
Yeah. Well,
what's the point?
And
what does it mean?
about?
It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Well,
if you don't earn it, and that is the culture and the ethos of the sport on a world level, and specifically on an English level and on a European level, and to go against that goes against, in my mind, the core of the sport, and it's trying to Americanize a largely un-American sport, and it shows how out of touch the American owners are. Not necessarily because they're American, because like I said, Ryan Dorp, who's an American, can own Arsenal Football Club because you know what it means.
Right.
It's not that because they're American; it's because they're American and they don't have access, and they're not fans of the club. They don't understand. They don't have a better understanding of the culture.
Because they
and
bought
what it
into it
means.
because they saw a sound business investment.
It's an investment to them, and that's all it is. They don't
Yeah.
understand what it means to play at that table, but to play at that table and sit at that table because you've earned the right.
Yeah.
We don't have the inherent right to do that. We have to earn it, right? So listen, I wish West Ham weren't in that position. But they are. They're fifth right now.
Yeah.
And they are 6 points behind Chelsea, so they have a legitimate chance to finish fourth. They could earn the right to play in the Champions League next season. And I think that is awesome, that a club like West Ham can earn the right to do that. I wish they weren't. I wish they weren't that close. I wish Arsenal were in that position.
Well, yeah,
but I actually love that West Ham, they bought wisely. They got a good manager. And they've worked hard enough, and they're very close to having earned the right to sit at that table, at least for a season.
For a season, yeah.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I mean, so to go as far as like the no motivation to not be bad, it's a little different of a comparison because like obviously the NFL being a salary cap league, you have to worry about that kind of stuff.
It's a franchise league,
right? But
a league of franchises.
I can't remember if it was one of the larger Arsenal Twitter. It was either Short Fuse or Gunner Blog or one of those. I remember seeing the point that like, because like in the NFL, like you're going to spend the money up to the cap because that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But in the EPL, it's kind of up to you. Like there's no floor. I mean, obviously there's financial fair play to be considered.
But financial fair play is not really enforced.
No, but I was just saying like that's pretty much the only legal consideration.
Sure, yeah.
And they made whoever it was who said the tweet, and it's been a while. I apologize, I can't credit directly, but they made the point that like possibly the only reason that we've even been competitive is the lure of Champions League money.
Yeah.
That without that, they might just do what American sports owners sometimes do and say, whatever, we're making money, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
And so like, because like even and of course it depends on how it would have all played out. Like, would we have been kicked out of the Premier League? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Because I think the Premier League wouldn't survive without those 6 clubs.
Yeah,
or
it
would be a hugely diminished product.
Yeah, it would go from what is known as the most competitive league in world football to probably the least competitive league in Europe if they kick all 6 of us out.
Yeah.
So that you'd still be wanting to compete for the league title. I don't think it would have immediately turned into a Washington football team like situation where you just say screw it, because you don't want to look like clowns in the league and you're finishing 14th and then playing Barca on Thursday.
But that I feel like that would have been the beginning of that ethos within the game over there. And I don't want the Americanization of the game in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Like, I don't think it would have happened overnight, but and that's just it. Like
it would been the beginning of maybe a slow burn, but it would have been a very clear beginning for me.
And it's one of those things like, we as Americans, I guess, for whatever reason, just can't leave good things alone, man.
Yeah.
It's just like,
let a sleeping dog lie or whatever.
I don't know if Germany's solution is the solution, because like I've seen people say like, look, that sounds great now that you guys are worried about this, but also it's not that great.
Right.
The 50+1 rule.
Yeah. I found myself envious of Borussia Dortmund, who's the club I support in Germany. I found myself envious of guys like that, of clubs like that, because their fans are absolutely like they were gonna fight this. and like the fan share of ownership of the team can't really make the move without that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I guess what I was saying is like I haven't done enough reading into it to really understand how that all works.
Sure, yeah.
But like people have said,
it's not every club over there, but most German clubs.
Y'all are saying, look, all you English club fans are saying, give us 50+1, trust us, you don't necessarily want it, is what some of the German fans have been saying. So like there's no perfect system by any means.
But
it looks
sure
attractive in this case.
In this
case, it saved everybody's butts because they were saved the face of being in this debacle. And I guess that's the next place to go with it, is that, you know, now all the clubs that voted to break away are in save face mode. Obviously, United is having the hardest time of it at this very moment.
Yeah.
As I can see reporters still standing on the pitch at Trafford and nothing is happening. So
is it Fraser Maud who has the most English name of all time?
That's a pretty English name. That is a pretty English name.
Yeah.
But you know, I want to say, how do you rebuild the trust? But you know, as even Josh Kroenke admitted it, they never had it in the first place.
Yeah.
So you know, how do you build trust? And
that's a troubling statement, because they might have said, you know, well, screw it, let's do this. Like, they don't trust us anyway, so what are they going to do? Trust us less? That's not possible.
Yeah, and likely
so maybe it makes them take further risk than they would take, because maybe they're not concerned about losing the trust because they don't feel like they have it.
Well, but I think
they say, oh, maybe we'll take a risk on this thing and maybe it turns good and maybe we'll gain trust that way. If it turns bad, we can't go less than we already are, you know, as far as trust, and that maybe is not a bad point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they were to think that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that. I feel like, I don't know that what's happening today in Manchester is going to, you know, permeate the thoughts of any other owners. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm sure they're taking some notice at least.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, even the most isolated ivory tower rich dude still doesn't want to be the guy who's,
as Peyton said earlier, rich dude's gonna rich dude.
Rich dudes are gonna rich dude, but at a certain point, you still don't want to be the guy whose face is on a banner saying that you went to Epstein Island. Like, you know, there
definitely don't want it. Whether that's true or not, I don't want my face on that banner.
Right, and so like
to be clear, I've never gone to Epstein Island.
No, nor have I, and my face has never been on any banner to my knowledge, and I'm trying to keep it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless I print it myself as a joke.
Yeah,
we're not doing that.
Yeah.
God, can you imagine my face in vinyl? No, thank you. So, you know, it is interesting. It will be interesting to see if like this kicked more than just United. If it A, you know, made any impact on United's plans going forward, and B, if anybody else really takes notice and goes, oh man, they are not messing around over there.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I think of. So United fans that have wanted the Glazers out for years since they bought the club. When did they buy the club? 2005, I want to say. So for, you know, a long time now, United fans have wanted the Glazers out of their club, and I think I think they have a very real and visceral reaction to United's involvement in the European Super League, and I think that's not a fake reaction, but also I think that they are seizing their opportunity to try and get something that they've wanted for years and years now, which is the Glazers to be gone from their club.
I mean, if the Kroenkes are, you know, if the Spotify dude, what's his name?
Daniel Ek. Yeah, let's talk about Daniel Ek for a minute.
If his, you know, first of all, I don't believe any team owner when they say we're not listening to offers for the team.
Yeah,
because like, what did they?
Because the team is worth valued at two something billion.
Yeah.
So if Daniel Ek and consortium and Thierry Henry and Vieira and them came along and said, hey, listen, we'll give you $5 billion for the club, Stan and Josh's heads would be turned.
Well, here's the thing: the Kroenkes bought the team for $550 million.
Yeah. And they've about quadrupled the team's value from that.
That's how much he paid for Usmanov's share, and then he bought out the remainder of the shares.
Bought out the remainder of the shares.
So
at the point when he made the offer, the remaining shareholders had to sell.
Yeah, so like at most, you figure the Kroenkes were out like just short of a bill.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take $1 billion,
so that means they've more than doubled.
You would pretty much double. I mean, well, so supposedly X offer was like 1.7.
Okay.
But that's a starting point. Like you figure it's going to end up over 2.
Yeah.
And if you,
I feel like it's going to end like more like 2.7 if
if you doubled your investment in what is it, 12 years,
Yes.
13 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And also that doubling made you $1 billion with a B dollars.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you listen to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you should entertain it.
And also, he also owns the Rams still.
They're so stubborn. He owns the Rams. He owns the Colorado Avalanche. He owns
and their money
some
comes
esports
from,
teams.
Yeah, and their money comes from Walmart.
He owns like 32% of Texas, the state, the land or whatever. He has a 1 million acre ranch or whatever down there. I'm using hyperbole, of course.
But my point being that
they here's the thing: the Cronkies are notoriously stubborn, and when they acquire a sports team, they don't sell it. And that's like their thing. That's like their identity. They acquire these teams and they hold on to them.
But I mean, has anyone come to them with a dump truck of cash for the Avs
for the Rams?
Probably
yeah.
not.
Yeah. Well,
Probably not.
He moved the team because he thought it would be
because he couldn't get that dump truck from St. Louis.
Correct.
He went to LA.
He went to LA. Yeah.
And that was
and
just
to be
get a
fair, the
stadium
Rams used to be in LA. They also used to be in Cleveland. For those of you who don't know, for I want to say 5 or 6 years. But Cleveland Rams? It just doesn't sound right. So half of me thinks that, if Daniel Ek pulled up with a Brinks truck and said, hey, here's $2.4 billion for the club, and Kroenke's like, that's more than double our investment. Like, as an investor, I invest myself. I'm an investor. I invest in real estate, and like, if I'm gonna double the money I have in a project, if someone makes me an offer, that's an offer I probably say, hey, okay, great, where do I sign? But I don't play at the table of billions and billions. I play at the table of like hundreds of thousands, maybe.
But even so, like yes, people of that stratosphere have a different mentality of things, but ultimately their mentality is get rich as fuck.
Get rich as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And it'd be one thing if it was like, I feel like Mark Cuban just owns the Mavs, right? Or does he own like a WNBA team or something like that?
I think he might own a WNBA team,
but
but he owns a lot of other business ventures and stuff like that.
Like Ballmer owns the Clippers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's his sports team, and like that dude loves his team. Like no one's buying the Clippers off of Steve Ballmer because that is his thing.
And he is a Clippers fan,
right? I mean, he's also a crazy person.
He's also a crazy, but like he's the type of crazy person. I'm like, if I was a basketball player, like, I want to play for that dude.
Yeah,
that dude sits courtside and like pumps his fist when I score a fast break, when I bring down a fast break and dunk on somebody's head. He looks like the
whitest white person in the world when he does it, but whatever. But no, my point
that dude is into it. He's into his team.
But my point is, like, his team is not. No one's buying that team off of him for any amount of money because he loves that. But the Cronkies own a half dozen sports teams. You have to imagine if someone said, "Look, this is a ridiculous amount of money.
You a crazy return on what you've invested thus far.
We're not going to light your name on fire as you walk away.
Yeah.
We just want this team to do our thing with it."
Yeah.
I think,
and Daniel Ek has kind of proven that, because he's had a couple chances since he came out with that statement on Twitter. He's had a couple chances to drag the Kroenke name through the mud, and he is very much taken the high road, which I'm really impressed about. And it makes me think he's really doing everything he can to maybe launch a real bid for this team. He's doing the PR the right way. He's got the right people involved. He's got Henri and Vieira and some folks, some club legends involved. And it's like, listen, if there was any way to approach like trying to make this thing happen, he's doing all the right things. I would say.
And all I'm trying to say is that, like, I don't think the Kroenkes would seriously just slam the door in his face without hearing his offer.
No. I agree with you. I
Like, I don't know that they would sell, but I do not believe for 1 second they would not entertain the offer.
You've just summed up my opinion on it. Like, I don't know that I think they will sell. But like, if the Kroenkes have an opportunity to make money, because that is the Kroenkes' number one concern in life, is how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I make more money? Or how do I make something more valuable? How do I up my net worth? How do I make this asset a more valuable asset?
And as Peyton just pointed out, they blew all that money on an infinity pool to have a draft party, so they're going to have to finance that somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, I mean,
sell the club, pay for your pool.
Pay for your pool, exactly. Have more draft parties, prosper. So I mean, I would put maybe a 30% chance on this Ek takeover happening.
You put 30% on it? If I had to quantify it, I would say less. I would say probably like half that. But
you think like a 15? Yeah, 10, 15?
But there is a clear chance. It's not 1% or 2% or 3%. I think it's way more than that. I think there's a clear chance.
This is where I'm wishing I programmed in the. So you're saying there's a chance patch.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah. 1 in a million? Okay.
Samsonite. I was way off.
But, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm sure that we have not heard the last of that particular drama.
Yeah.
And, we have heard the last of the ESL, but, as a lot of people have said, I know
I don't know that we've heard the last of that.
Well, no, we've heard the last of the ESL in its existence, but as Taylor Twellman pointed out and a few others, they're going to try again.
Yeah. Florentino Perez is still talking about it. Now, Florentino Perez
that dude
is certifiably insane.
Yeah, he is certifiably insane.
He's off the res. He has to take a plane fight just to get back to being close to the reservation.
That dude,
he is way off the reservation.
He put the ESL so deep in his throat that it's coming out his back. He cannot bail out at this point. He has to, in order to be ever taken seriously on anything again, he has to champion this until it is so dead that even he has to give up.
Yeah, but this fool said, if UEFA and FIFA say that our players that play in the ESL can't play in the UEFA Euros or the World Cup, we will just create our own World Cup. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, which
is what this man said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you said what now?
Yeah. It's only been, 100 and some odd years.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, no, that
you
that
have
dude,
a lot of pull, but I don't think you got that kind of pull. That is juice. That's not juice. That goes into sauce territory. That'd be sauce.
Yeah. I think the fact of being Spain's de facto national club team has gone a little bit to his head.
Yeah.
And he's, like you say, completely off the reservation. He's actually on a different planet at this point.
Yeah, no.
But no, I mean, as long as there is foreign ownership that sees these teams as more of an investment than an institution, they are going to try again.
Yeah.
And honestly, the new Champions League format is a disaster.
Yeah.
And
it's closer to the ESL than
there's enough teams getting in that don't belong in that it's almost
some legacy teams.
Legacy, yeah.
And that again, that would help Arsenal.
It would help us, but it's not the way we want to get
there. But I don't
there.
like it.
No, I don't like it.
I want to earn it fair and square, legitimately. I want to play at that table, but we need, and that's the way it's always been. And not that change is bad or that change is inherently going to end up in disaster, because the way of the world is that the world evolves and changes over time. And in a lot of instances, change is good, but change that takes
the soul of something away.
Takes the soul of something away, and that soul is based on that soul in the game is merit based.
Yeah.
And to take the merit based aspect away from it is in my mind just is a crime against all of the sport.
And you hope
football.
that as negatively as this played out, that whenever they do inevitably try again, they at least learn something from this and try to figure out a way to not only obviously make it merit based, but do it in a way that either accomplishes something that everybody can be okay with, or force, try to, because UEFA and FIFA are as corrupt as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you can somehow...
I agree with the idea of fighting them on something. I agree with the idea that things needed to change within those two organizations, but this ain't it, Chief. This was not the one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. Maybe they say, you know what, instead of starting a breakaway league, we just need to band together and demand change, or we boycott the Champions League or something like that.
Yeah.
That's, I think, how you affect the changes you need while maintaining the soul of the game.
Absolutely.
So anyway, pivoting from a league that wasn't to a league that we're not in to the league that we are in, let's talk about Europa a little bit.
Okay. So because we haven't podcasted since the
first leg
one at Villareal,
which that lineup. What?
We were really lucky to nick an away goal there, and that was a big deal. It was and is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And you know me, and I'm a fan of Arteta, and I've been one of the biggest Arteta apologists.
When I saw you say, you know what, this time Arteta got it wrong, I was like, oh shit, it must have been real bad.
Yeah, this was on him, because the manager has certain jobs. Now, to a degree, it's up to the players to perform if the manager puts you in a position to succeed. So a good example of that is the first leg against Slavia Prague, right? So the manager put out a lineup and tactics that put our players in the best possible position to succeed.
And they did not convert.
And our players missed 5 sitters that game.
Right.
That's not on Arteta. He puts you in the position. He can't go on the pitch himself. He's past that age. He can't go and make it happen himself. But he put you in a position to succeed, and we fluffed 5 or 6 basically sitters.
Yeah.
In the first leg against Villareal, he got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Tactically, he got it all wrong. Lineup-wise, he got it all wrong. We played Emile Smith-Rowe as a false 9. I think we did that because Pep Guardiola did it like a few nights before, and it worked. And there's only a couple problems with that. Pep Guardiola, and they're both personnel related. Pep Guardiola as a whole, his team, he has the personnel to do those types of things.
Yeah.
And Arteta does not have that personnel as a whole. Number 2, another personnel issue is you cannot play a false 9 formation if you do not have midfielders that are natural goal scorers.
Yeah.
City has Kevin De Bruyne, Riyad Mahrez, a bunch of midfielders
that can score at will,
or wide players that are natural goal scorers. They score without thinking about it. It's second nature to them. Kevin De Bruyne could be a striker.
Yeah.
If Kevin De Bruyne was a striker, he'd be like a top 6 striker in the entire world.
Yeah.
That's how good he is as a player, right?
Right.
So we don't have that. Our midfielders are not natural goal scorers. Emile Smith-Rowe, who is a brilliant young player, is just... We really put him in a position to fail.
Yeah.
By doing that, because a brilliant young player and playing him and asking him to do something that is at this point in his career out of his depth.
Yeah.
It was a bad idea, and I hope it didn't wreck the kid's confidence because.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
And I don't think so either, because I think he understood that it was experimentation time. But again, why are you experimenting in a European semifinal?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you doing that?
Like, I was with whoever said in our group chat, like, maybe this was just to throw Emery for a loop. Like, well, I bet you didn't expect me to do something this insane, did you?
or playing 3 former La Liga players in Partey, Ceballos, and who else was a former La Liga?
Odegaard.
Somebody else. Odegaard as former La Liga players. And just to say, okay, you guys know what it takes. You guys can be effective against a La Liga team. He just got far too cute with everything, and it just did not pan out.
Because it wasn't necessitated because of injury, I don't think. I think he just put dudes in weird
not
places.
Not at all, I don't think. Not at all.
Because like we had guys that didn't play that could have played and made the lineup a little bit more natural.
Why play ESR as a false 9 when you have Martinelli? He
Yeah.
could be a false 9. He could be a real
Actual
9.
9,
He could be a tech 9. He could be a 9mm. That kid can do everything. Okay?
Yeah, he's going to guest star on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. I don't like.
Yeah, it's just all those decisions
everything.
made no
Everything
sense.
that Arteta was responsible for, as far as preparation and tactics and everything for that game, he got it all wrong.
Yeah.
So in my mind, and yes, I like Arteta, and yes, I think our future is in good hands with Arteta, and I think there's going to be some growing pains, but I'm also a realist, and I'm not so biased and such a homer for the guy that I can't see that he got everything wrong, and that one rests squarely on his shoulders. Now, thank God for Pepe.
Yeah.
Thank God for getting a penalty and converting that penalty and absolutely stealing an away goal against a Villareal team that wholly looked better than us on Thursday. So I hope this coming Thursday we can really.
Yeah, but my question is so the scenarios, which I had to ask you to sort out because I'm not super familiar on the road endings. But no, so either we got to win 1-0. And we win on away goals, or we win by 2+ goals, and we just win on aggregate. Or if we get a 2-1 win, we have to go to extra time and penalties if need be.
Extra time and then penalties if it's still tied
after extra time.
If it's still tied at that scoreline, because 1 goal in extra time would be the difference in that scoreline.
Right.
So whoever scores that goal in extra time. So let's scenario run here. If we win 2-1 and then we go into extra time
and we get another,
we win. If they get another in extra time in that scenario, we then need 2 more because then they'll have the away goals lead.
Right.
So if it goes to extra time, we can absolutely not let them score. It would be dangerous for us to be in a position. It would be dangerous for it to go into extra time.
Well, of course, obviously. I mean, you don't want to deal with that at all because there's so many ways that can go wrong.
We need to go out and put a second leg against Slavia Prague.
Yeah,
he did the lineup right, and we went out and we flipped the switch and we did it to him.
I mean, it helped that we were mad at their extreme racism.
Yeah.
But
the black lads really wanted that one.
Yeah, they did. But no, I mean, I think given how wonky our lineup was and the fact that we still managed to nick a goal, I don't feel terrified that we're not going to come through on this one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
say home.
It's at home. I mean, home away this year means whatever. Yeah. I mean, I guess the travel. Yeah. You don't have to travel because we were, we're not, going from Newcastle down to Spain.
I think you're on the same wavelength that I am. I'm not super confident. I think we will win. I think we will pull it out. But I am by no means ultra hyper confident about this.
But I'm also in no way saying, well, we're screwed.
Yeah.
You know,
the away goal.
If we didn't have the away goal, I would be very despondent.
Yeah.
We got that. It's, you know, it was an embarrassment of a game. But
so if we come out and score an early goal, we're in a really good position.
Yeah. Now, we have not kept a lot of clean sheets short of today.
Right.
And I'm certainly not, as we have said before, I'm not going to say, oh, look, Matt Ryan kept a clean sheet. Put him in on Thursday. No, absolutely not. Leno is our guy.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
You know, and especially with David Luiz going down, the back line's going to be a concern in that game for me anyway, because he's actually played really well, you know, most of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you figure Gabriel and Chambers probably again in the middle. Maybe Pablo Mari slots in there.
Yeah. Well, it can't be Gabriel. It's not going to be Gabriel and Mari because they are both left-footed, left-sided center backs. So I doubt it'll be those two.
But I mean, maybe you do Chambers and Mari. Chambers and Mari played most of today.
Yeah. I would like to see Chambers play. But I'm sorry, I would like to see Gabriel play because I would like to see our strongest possible 11 in this game. This is the most important game of our season.
So at that point, is Chambers or holding the other guy for you?
I think holding. Only because clearly David Luiz was injured today.
Yeah, his hamstring is not being
I think his hamstring is
be
essentially jelly right now.
Yeah.
And so I think that Kun Aguero has just scored an absolute worldie yesterday. I think it's got to be holding because he's kind of the best available.
Yeah,
I'm not in a position where I trust Chambers at center back. I actually trust him at right back more than I trust him at center back right now.
I'd agree with you on that.
So I think holding because there's really not a whole lot else.
Yeah,
and there's
true.
Mari, and I don't think that would work because of the two left.
Two-sided,
they're both very left-footed. So I think holding is the one. And on a one-off, I think holding could do a good job. But I think it's got to be Gabriel, but also. Holding and Gabriel don't play well together, I feel. And it's a issue for me because they're two of our first choice guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Holding has kind of worked his way into being kind of a fourth captain sort of a person for us this year.
Sure.
But yeah, I need to see our best 11. I need to see Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Lacazette, if we can fit him in there somewhere.
I mean, he's still not healthy though, right?
Yeah, he might not be. So
my big question is, do we think that
Martinelli? I would love to see him get. I was going
to say Tierney.
The
the suggestion that Tierney might be able to go on Thursday, was that just posturing to mess with Emery, or do we think there's a chance he plays on Thursday?
I think there's a chance he plays, but also if there's a surgeon in the audience and you have a scalpel, please come and take my left testicle for the price of having Tierney healthy and fit on Thursday. I'm very much willing to give it up. My wife wants children, so I'm not sure how that's going to go with her. But
you only need one.
Better to ask forgiveness than permission.
That's true. You only need one. You can do it with one. One works, as long as you got strong swimmers.
Yeah. I think I do. When I was a teenager, they were sure in a hurry to get places. But that it would be such a huge thing for us, and it would be really nice if he were healthy to see Saka or Martinelli on that left-hand side.
Yeah.
Because those players dovetail with Kieran Tierney quite nicely.
Yeah.
And they just have a really nice connection.
Well, and then you can put Xhaka back at midfield, pair him with Partey.
Yeah. And that is our best midfield pairing, I think. And while Xhaka has been extremely serviceable, and I think has done one hell of a job for us at left back for the past 4 or 5 games, it's clearly not his natural position. He doesn't have the pace to cope with, if we were playing Man United, like a Daniel James or a Greenwood or Rashford or somebody like that might play over on that wing. He doesn't have that, but he's done a job for us. He's done a job for us.
No, I'm not going to complain about his job at all. It's just you don't want him back there. You don't want Saka back there. You want them where they belong.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like we're going to have to score some goals because I think a clean sheet's optimistic. I think 3-1's the way we go through if we go through.
Yeah, I agree. So we need to win 1-0 or by 2+ goals.
Yeah, so I think 3-1 if we're going to win is going to be because
we need to do everything possible thing we can to avoid them scoring goals and to also avoid extra time.
Yeah.
If we go into extra time, we're in trouble because it takes one moment of brilliance from them, and they have the players to do it.
Yeah.
Chukwueze is a player Danny Parejo has been over the last 5 years consistently one of the best players in the entirety of La Liga, just quietly, kind of like in a David Silva type of way.
Yeah,
he is one hell of a player.
And Emery is the Europa wizard.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
He didn't do it for us, but, be that as it may.
He
but
did do the Emery there because he was in control. Their team was in control of the first half. He fucked around with it second half and gave up an away goal.
That's true.
No one is talking about this. He pulled an Emery.
Yeah,
he pulled an Emery.
That's right. You're not wrong.
Because he was far and away in the best position, and now he's in a somewhat precarious position because he did the Emery. He pulled out an attacker and put on like a defensive midfielder or a defender or something like that, and tried to
kind of parked the bus a little bit.
And he tried to Mourinho his way, but he's not Mourinho.
No,
you know what I mean.
Nor should anyone want to be. Let's be real.
Nor should anyone want to be. But if you're playing that style, you should want to be.
Right, but you're not.
But you're not.
Yeah.
And no one is. As much as I hate the man, no one quite does Mourinho like Mourinho.
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
what
he'll do it for about a year and a half to 2 years, then he'll get run out of town. This time he lasted a little less than that.
A little less than that.
Suck it. Well, I guess 3. It's normally 3 plus that gets him run out.
It's normally he normally gets run out in the third year. But the thing is, like, it just the timing seems so odd on that. Got fired a few days before a cup final, and like that would have been the trophy that he would have brought to the club. And they need any trophy. These assholes were celebrating the Audi Cup. They need a trophy desperately.
They do, but also I think they wanted him gone because of the way the season had gone. They looked at the ESL as perfect cover to fire their manager.
Yeah, and
that's how it went.
There was rumors that it was about the ESL and he refused to bring his team out for
I
training.
heard that was debunked.
Absolutely
that was
debunked.
not true.
He was fired because of results and nothing else.
Yeah, and it is justifiable. But
and
it's
I
an
get
odd
that,
time
but
to do
like
it,
let him do the final.
Let him at least win the Carabao Cup.
You got Ryan Mason in charge for the final. Like, Ryan Mason has a relationship with he played with these guys before he was basically medically forced to retire. And he was a good player. He was a decent player, but it's just, and I think he might be a good manager one day. But
it's not for a cup final after you've been there for 3 days.
Not for a cup final. Yeah, after you've been the interim manager for 5 minutes. Like, Tom is convinced they're going to get Scott Parker, and I'm like, to play and sit at the table they want to sit at, I don't think Scott Parker's good enough. You need an Allegri or somebody like that, or a Nagelsmann, but they're not going to get Nagelsmann because Bayern Munich just confirmed that he's going to be their coach when Hansi Flick leaves to take over Die Mannschaft. So they need like a Eric Ten Hag or somebody.
Ten Hag's already said no. I think
he's already said no. Okay,
I think
but
so.
they need somebody
that.
that's kind of progressive like that.
Yeah.
And that has managed like a big club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still consider clubs like Ajax and clubs that are outside of the top 5 leagues in Europe, clubs like Porto.
They're still big clubs,
those are massive domestically. Clubs. Those are massive clubs,
and they finish top couple domestically all the time.
Yeah.
So like that's whether you're it's obviously a less competitive league, but you're always there. You're always against the competition. So you have that experience.
Yeah.
But in any case, that'll play out over the long term. In the short term, as we just said, we got our next game on Thursday, Villareal at home. Got to win, by the way, as we said. Next in league, we've got West Brom on Sunday afternoon U.S. time. If we win that one, well, we'll feel a little better about ourselves. But right now, we're sitting in 9th. It doesn't matter, but hey, it's top 10, and we'll take it. So that's how everything stands. We will catch you next time. I am Ryan, here with Joey.
I'm Rich, biatch.
I got cigarettes for life.
Cigarettes for life.
Catch you next time.
See you guys.